Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the presentation, YSS Powerhouse Presents Teen Services OK, Better Than OK. This is Jamie Machik with the Nicolay Federated Library System, and this is not a live event. This webinar was done live on March 31st, but we had some issues with the recording, and I tried troubleshooting many things, and nothing really seemed to work. So our presenters graciously agreed to give the presentation again, and we will upload this version as the recording. So with me today, we have Emily Heideman, Teen Services Librarian from the Waupaca Area Public Library. We have Becky Arenivar, who is with the Prescott Public Library, and Terry Ehle with the Leicester Public Library. And we're going to go ahead and start with Emily. So Emily, whenever you're ready.
All right, as Jamie said, I'm Emily Heideman, Teen Services Librarian from the Waupaca Area Public Library. And today I'll just be briefly talking about teen programs and offer some tips and ideas for how to offer successful teen programs at your library. So, getting started, one of the first things that I look at when I am planning my own programs is the intended audience. I ask myself a few questions, as you can see up on the screen here. Who is already attending programs or using the library? Is it mostly the middle school students, or do you have high school students as well? You know, is it a good mix? And the next thing would be, who do you want to reach with your programs? So maybe, like is the case here in Waupaca, I have mostly middle school students that come to my programs, but I want to offer more programs that high school teens will attend. So looking at your audience is a big thing in teen planning programs. Finally, what are the teens in your library or in your community currently into? What is the thing that they really enjoy doing? This will vary from community to community, but often there is some kind of overlap. So you'll want to tailor your programs to suit the interests of your target audience. In Waupaca, as I'm sure is the case in other communities, teens have really been sucked into Minecraft. That's the huge thing here. Every time I come into the teen room here in Waupaca, I have 6 internet computers, and they've all got somebody on them playing Minecraft. So for that reason, I got the ball rolling on setting up a Minecraft server, and just for the library, and offered a program at which teens could teach me the basics of Minecraft. And they were so excited that I asked them for help. So so they were the ones teaching me, and that was big. And that's because that was an interest of theirs, and it's not an interest of mine, but I wanted to learn why it was so interesting for them. So that's one of the things that I recommend doing, is find out what they're interested in and offer programs that will suit that. Another thing, or the next thing, that as far as planning programs, ask yourself or even your library, you know, if they have a movie license, or if your consortium maybe has a movie license. In Waupaca, which is the OWLS library system, we have Movie Licensing USA, which I'm sure, or I believe, is the standard for most library systems. Offering a movie is a great way to offer programs that teens will actually attend without spending a whole lot of money, as long as you offer it within the confines of the contract, so indoors and from production companies that this Movie Licensing USA covers. This January, my library decided to offer summer library program themed events programming throughout the year. So this year's theme for summer, which for my library is all year, is Every Hero Has a Story, or for teens it's Unmasked. And I think that really lends itself pretty well to offering movie programs, because there are so many hero movies out there, and you don't have to just do superheroes. You could do sports heroes. You could show Rudy or something like that. So I decided, starting in January, to offer a movie series where we would watch, once a month, we would watch one of the movies from the Marvel Universe, but we would watch them all in chronological order. So not in the order that they were released, but in the order that they fall in the Marvel Universe. And that is something that has really caught on here. Teens are really excited to guess which movie comes next, and they always wait until the end of the credits to see that little snippet from the end of the movie to see which movie might be next. And who doesn't love free popcorn and a free movie? So it's been a great program that has drawn both middle school and high school students. And, you know, teen movies, we don't tell them to be quiet. They can talk if they want. You know, it's a free movie, and teens are going to be teens, and they were quiet all day at school. So this is a great program to offer for teens. Another thing, like if you really want to get your teens to attend programs, is to get them involved at the ground floor. So why plan programs that you think teens will attend when you could plan programs that you know they're going to attend? You could start a student or teen library organization, often called TAG or TAB, SLAG, minus SLAG, etc. There's other terms for these groups. These student groups are meant to make your job easier. So solicit from them program ideas. You know, ask them what kind of programs they would want to see offered at your library. They will feel more invested if you are using their ideas. So if they see their ideas are utilized and appreciated, you know, you're going to have good turnout if teens are planning your programs. Another way to get teens to attend library programs is to offer incentives. Food is a huge motivator for teens, but you want to be careful not to offer it at every program because it could become more of an entitlement rather than an incentive. Your teens may come to expect it at every program if you offer it at every program. I do one program where I offer pizza. We do Pizza and Pages teen book discussion. And I do offer pizza every time because it's in the name. And that has gotten teens to actually come and talk about any book they've read in the past month rather than assigning them a book because they get assigned a book at school to read. So this allows them to help me with my collection development. It also helps me with book talking to patrons when they are looking for a good book. I can tell them, you know, my book club really enjoyed this book. So Pizza and Pages is a great one, and they come because there's pizza, but they always talk about books. So that's a good one. You may also want to offer prizes at tournaments. If you offer Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, so trading cards, Magic tournaments. We do Super Smash Brothers Brawl tournaments here, so video game tournaments. Paperback books make really great prizes, so you know, try and find current titles or popular authors rather than just, you know, the big bulk orders you can get from various companies. Or if you offer like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, offer booster packs or rare cards. They offer these foil cards. They're relatively cheap, and teens really like them. Even if they don't like what they got in their pack, they'll trade them. So they really like to get you know, little things. If your director or your library board allows you, why not offer fine forgiveness cards? So on the bottom corner there, you can see one of our fine forgiveness cards. You know, if teens are coming to your program, why not give them a card that says, you know, you've come to a program, you can have, you know, we'll reward you with $5 off of your library fines. That can be a huge motivator for teens. At Waupaca, we block their computer access at $5 in fines. So this card allows them that day where they can actually play on the computer. So that's a good offering, but only if your director or your library board is behind it. And then another thing would be to offer leftover coupons from summer library program. This is something that you'll want to make sure you okay with the businesses that offer you these coupons before you do it. But I always have leftover Dairy Queen or Pizza Hut coupons at the end of summer reading program. So, you know, and they expire at the end of the year, usually in December. So why not offer them as program incentive for your fall programs? Again, you don't want to alienate this community partnership that you've created with these businesses, so make sure you talk to them before you offer these prizes. When it comes to programs, it always seems to come down to numbers, but I will urge you not to get too caught up in the numbers being the only determining factor in whether or not your program was successful. Don't be discouraged by a small turnout. Teens are they're cool, the busiest people around. They often have to rely on others for transportation to and from the library. And because they are such busy people, they need lots of reminders. You know, they're not adults yet. And even adults forget to attend library programs. So, you know, if you are able to send them a text blast or an email or post it on your Facebook that you're having a program, that's a really great way to get them to remember to come to programs. So before you decide to mix your programs, you know, if you had a small turnout and you're thinking it's not worth doing it again, consider changing how you marketed your program. You know, did you post it on social media? Did you post it at the school? Did you post anywhere other than just in your library? Or maybe you offered the program on an unpopular day or an unpopular time. So, you know, consider all of those factors before you decide to get rid of a program. My example here is this year, for Teen Tech Week, I received a Teen Tech Week grant at which I could spend $1,000 to offer a program at which teens would tear apart and rebuild a computer and then see if it works. And they were really excited about it. I had 7 teens pre-registered for the program. I had 1 teen registered the day of the program. And I had 2 adult volunteers lined up from an area technical school to help teach these teens. And only 2 teens showed up. And I was really disappointed with the turnout. You know, I even felt like, you know, I felt like I did everything I possibly could. I marketed really well. You know, I marketed on social media. I marketed on our website. I reached out to the schools to hang up flyers. I did everything I possibly could. And it was even in our newspaper. And I boosted a post on Facebook, so I paid for that. But I did a survey at the end, and I found that these teens really did learn a lot from our program. They got one-on-one experience, computer experience, tearing apart and rebuilding the computers, and they learned safety procedures. And they left the program feeling as though they really did learn something. And they were more excited about what the library has to offer. So that program really was a success. And I will offer that program again. I will not offer it on a Friday after school, however, because that seemed to be the reason why no one showed up. So, so keep those things in mind before you decide to, you know, put the axe to a program. Oops. Another thing to consider is if teens are not coming to you, maybe go to them. Consider taking your programs where they are. Makerspace programs are really great because it gets teens working with their hands, working on STEM or STEAM-related activities, using tools they may not have had access to at home, and they can be facilitated just about anywhere. This past summer, I offered a Makerspace program for teens at our area farmers market, which is just outside of our library. And we built bottle rockets using kits that I purchased from questwaterrockets.com. You can buy classroom kits. These bottle rockets are assembled using the kit and recycled 20-ounce soda bottles, and then they're launched on an orange launch pad using a bike pump with a pressure gauge. And it was a lot of fun. But to do this program, make sure that you have extra kite string because some teams can be a little heavy-handed in launching their rockets, and the kite string will break. So that's just a suggestion there. I had 26 people attend this program, and many more farmers market shoppers hung around just to watch kids launch their bottle rockets. I even had some younger kids who wanted to join in, so teens were helping little kids build bottle rockets too. And this program was funded by our library foundation. Other makerspace programs that I've done that have been really popular are brush bots, so little toothbrush robots that you can get from Maker Shed. Voodoo pincushions, I've done that one twice, and I've had about 10 kids average at each program. You know, they learn sewing skills, and they have a really good time. And that one I usually offer either on Valentine's Day as an anti-Valentine's Day program, or this past year I offered it as a Friday the 13th program, because the day before Valentine's Day was Friday the 13th. Mini book keychains, just post-it notes and a large hole punch like a crocodile, and some binder rings, and then you just put covers on them. You can use leftover Demco cover paperback book cover to, you know, there's always that little leftover stuff to make them a little more durable. And then teens can hook them up to their backpacks or on their keychains. They're pretty popular in Waupaca, and we did it for when The Fault in Our Stars was released. And then this floppy disk pencil cup. You just take some leftover floppy disks and some zip ties. You can bring in a drill and drill some holes so that they can attach them properly. And you know, every library has leftover floppy disks from when we used to use them. So that's one of those things that you really don't have to spend a lot of money on either. So these programs can all be done fairly cheaply, and you can do them pretty much anywhere. The last thing I just want to talk about real quick is the 52 weeks of YA programming, sponsored by the Youth Services section of the Waupaca Library Association. This is a document that was compiled from YSS members across the state. They were asked to submit one program that could be put into this book. They should be programs that were successful and geared towards young adults. And successful does not necessarily equate to huge attendance. Programs that could be replicated by those with big budgets, no budgets, or anywhere in between budgets, so basically any budget. And programs that are educational or just plain fun. So you can get this document and follow the Youth Services Shoutout weblog at the link listed on this page. So that's all I have. So I'll turn it over to Terry.
All right, thank you, Emily. Now we have Terry Ehle with the Leicester Public Library in Two Rivers.
All right, thank you, Jamie. As she said, my name is Terry. I work at the Leicester Public Library in Two Rivers, Wisconsin, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about teen book displays. I have this picture up here first to show you what my teen area display looks like. As you can see, I really believe that book displays are extremely effective. I have space for about 34 books. This was the second time that I had filled this display, and as you can see, there are quite a few empty spaces. I try really hard when I put up displays that it seems that the books on top get taken more than the books on the bottom, so as the holes appear up top, I bring the books from the bottom up to the front. And I also kind of wanted to show how simple your displays can be and still be effective. I believe that this display was books that you may have missed the first time, so these were not new books by any means, but ones that teens might have not caught when they were on the new shelf, and now here's a chance to read them while it's really cold outside, was what the sign said. And if you can see in the upper right corner of the Kill Me Softly book, there's a little flag there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But I do want to stress how important it is to put up book displays. I really think that teens as a whole judge books by their cover, so the more face-out shelving or face-out books that you can have, the better. But you don't really need a large space. I've often put displays right in the middle of a table where teens are working, just put 2 or 3 books up for them to take so that they can see them. Pretty much any empty flat space that I have in the library, we try to put books on to encourage people to read them. I'm a big fan of putting flags in books. For some reason, if something's sticking out of a book, it really draws the eye, and those books have a tendency to be pulled first and taken by patrons. The one on the Kill Me Softly just has a little description about the book. Sometimes I just pull things from Amazon book reviews or I read the inside cover and put an exciting line from there, or if it's a read-alike, I'll put it's a read-alike for a certain book, or if there's a movie that's coming out, I often try to put that there too, because I think that teens really enjoy reading books that are going to become movies. Up in the top corner you can see we have staff suggest bookmarks. And we just took a picture of each staff member. Every staff member in the library has 2 bookmarks, and they're supposed to choose books regularly and always have them out on the floor. These have been extremely popular. As a matter of fact, you can see that some of the flags are yellow and some of them are green. As we have one person, we believe, who was collecting all of the library staff members and maybe have a collection of library bookmarks at home, which is a little bit creepy but still kind of fun. We also have, when I say everyone in the library, everyone in our library. All of our pages have suggestion bookmarks. Our maintenance man has suggestion bookmarks. You can see Jeff in the middle. He's our director. So everybody who works here at the library makes suggestions. There in the create flag here is one that I found an idea online, and anything that's not my original idea I have marked on my Pinterest page, which I will tell you the address for at the end so you can see where those ideas came from. You could do something as simple as the Prince Award, putting a sticker to let patrons know what are your award winners, and then the Alabama one I'll talk a little bit more about coming up. So these are some other display ideas that have some more of the flags. During our summer reading program for adults and teens, we do reader recommendation cards. Specifically for adults, they have to fill out one recommendation form to receive a prize for the program, and then when we do have teens do that as well, it's very similar. They fill out one and they receive a prize for the summer reading program. And then we set up displays throughout the library that have all of these reader recommendation cards in there, and again, a very popular display. It's often hard to keep them filled. Sometimes I'll try to do kind of a passive program where the teens can do something to mark the books that they really like. Up in the upper left corner you can see that I had them design bookmarks based on the books they like, and then put those books on display with the bookmarks. And then in the center there it says you either know one, you have one, or you are one. Movie to be released in February 2015. And that's just an example of one of the things that I might have put on a flag for the book Duff. So it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be super creative, it doesn't even have to be your own words to catch their eye, just something to make them look at the book a little bit more. Sometimes when a cover is particularly not attractive, or I think it's not going to really garner a lot of interest, sometimes I'll even put a sheet over the cover that says "Don't judge me" or "Great book, bad cover," and that also can draw the eye and encourage teens to pick it up. Down in the bottom left I have Crayola window markers. We have, if you can see at the top of this picture, you can see that we have glass windows that separate our youth department from the rest of the library, and we often will write book reviews on the windows themselves. For a while there I had my teen advisory board doing that. At the beginning of each meeting I would put out the markers, and if anybody had read a good book they could write a review of the book. And I did find that the books that were written up there were often checked out pretty soon after the review had gone up, and I usually leave them up for a couple weeks and then just wash them off. The window markers work really nice and they're very easy to get off. I did have a question when we recorded this last time about the flags and what they do up at circulation with them. I find that most people will just leave them either on the display shelves themselves. Sometimes they'll bring them over to us at the help desk. Otherwise, the circulation department knows just to pull them out, and then I just get them in my mailbox and I use them again, or sometimes I don't, but it really hasn't been a problem. Sometimes people just take them and use them as bookmarks, which is fine with me too, because it's just a piece of paper. It's not that big of a deal. Here's some other suggestions for flags that you could put inside the books. I have a series one, first book, read the rest, and then list the books in the series underneath it so that they know what they can do next. You could do things like Kleenex required, or this will make you laugh. You could use your circulation statistics, such as this book has been checked out 85 times. I did a great first lines one where I just wrote the first line of books on the flag and stuck it in there. And then I also do a lot of read-alike ones, if you like Fault in Our Stars. And then what's great about a generic one like that is you can just keep using it over and over. Here is a really neat site that has a lot of great display ideas. It's epicreads.com. A while back they had posted the United States of YA on the YSS blog. And I had taken and printed out the poster, and then I had made flags for each of the states and found the books and put them in the books and put them out. And this also was a very successful display. I had way more than half of the books taken, and I was a little bit worried about filling holes. So if one of the state books was taken, what I was going to do, but it turns out it's pretty easy in your catalog to find young adult books from specific states, and I didn't have any trouble filling it if I didn't have the book that was necessarily listed on the sheet itself. But I also like some of the simple ideas that they have here. Sometimes it's hard in young adult literature to find books that all have the same theme like we would normally do for picture books. So they just have some fun ideas. For example, on the far left you see the circular covers. So these are just young adult books that have a circle on their cover. I've also seen one where they just did books that had faces on the cover or just one eye on the cover or things like that. The Life by Committee one is young adult books that have beautiful handwriting on the cover, and I thought this would be a fun display that you could also put up a sheet that talks about handwriting analysis and turn again into a passive program where the kids can evaluate their handwriting and see what it tells about their personality. On the bottom, 7 signs you could be the next symbol of a YA rebellion, and they have the different signs listed on Epic Reads, and you could print those out on sheets, put them up in your display, and just surround them by books that have are dystopian in nature. Another good way to get books that are not necessarily the same theme but have something in common is to just do colors. These are a couple examples that I found online. Again, on my Pinterest page you could see where all these displays come from, but just doing Books Are the New Black, These Books Blew Us Away, Have You Read This Book, and then you can see the green for St. Patrick's Day. And I also really like displays like this because sometimes there are books that really just don't fit into any theme at all, and it's kind of nice if you can get some of those books up on display just simply because of the color of their cover, and it might give teens an opportunity to see books they wouldn't normally see, especially if they're not a read-alike for anything, if they're not a dystopian, or if they just, again, they're just a really good book but they don't really match a lot of the other books that you have. I've just done one recently that was a rainbow for St. Patrick's Day, and I just chose the books based on the color of their cover. I am noticing that the bottom purple is not going very much, and actually green has been the least favorite. This picture was taken about 2 weeks ago, and now I probably have even half as many books that are still up there. And then I just had some gold coins left over from St. Patrick's Day, and I just put those on there. And surprisingly, most of them are still there. I thought for sure that those coins were going to walk away, but they haven't. On the right is another one from Epic Reads. It's Shades of YA, and then just stacking them with just the edge of the book showing instead of the front cover. I thought that one looked pretty neat too. And then this is a new idea. I haven't actually done this, but I think I'm going to. I really like the idea of using technology. And the one on the top, they have QR codes that lead to book trailers for the books. You can find a lot of publishers offer book trailers now, or you can go on YouTube and find creative book trailers that other people have done. You could also do, if there isn't a book trailer available, if it's been made into a movie, you could link the QR code to the trailer for the movie. QR codes are very easy to create. This is one of my favorites that I use to create my QR codes. It's the qrcodegenerator.com. Basically all you have to do is type in the web address of wherever you want the QR code to lead to, and it makes the picture for you, and you can print it and resize it and do whatever you'd like with it. On the bottom right it has a display that's trying to highlight the books that are in the online collection, so all the QR codes lead to the ebook version or the ebook audio version of the books so that patrons can download them immediately or find them online. And I just thought, wow, that's a really great idea. You could also link to author pages. You could link to what's next if you're doing a series display, and the QR code could tell teens what books are next in the series. And then this is one that I thought was kind of a fun idea if teens are having trouble deciding what exactly they want to read next. I saw this pattern for a fortune cookie, and then on the inside I had different fortunes, things like you will find somebody new and read a romance next, and then you could have the books on the shelf that have just simple flags that say romance, dystopian, adventure, mystery, and then whatever fortune cookie they pick, they have to pick a book with that flag. So kind of just a random way to read something new. And then on the bottom it has the cootie catchers, patterns for that online. Very easy to make, but I was thinking that if I were to make them myself, that I would just do one that was dystopian and then have some categories that the kids would have to choose when they're doing it. And this would be another great way to highlight some of the books that they might not know are out there. You could do read-alike cootie catcher. So if you like Fault in Our Stars, you could put the choices that have to do with, did you like Fault in Our Stars because of romance? Did you like Fault in Stars because of the friendship? Did you like Fault in the Stars because of the tragedy? And then you could have them choose books based on that, on their cootie catchers. And then here is the link to the libraries, the Leicester Public Library's Pinterest page, where we also have quite a few of our book displays on there. We have a tendency to take more pictures of our adult displays than we do of our teen displays, but there are some up there. And there's also some good ideas from the adult as well that could transfer to the teens. And then all of the ideas that I've talked about are on my personal Pinterest page, and there's the address for that. If you had any questions or anything like that, you can feel free to contact me. There's my contact information. And thanks for letting me talk to you about book displays.
Thank you so much, Terry. Now we have Becky Arenivar with the Prescott Public Library, who is going to talk about teens as volunteers.
Thank you. Well, I just want to tell you a little bit about where I work. I work in Prescott, Wisconsin, which is a very small town snug up against the border with Minnesota. Prescott's kind of a rural bedroom community. We're just 25 miles from the Minneapolis-St. Paul urban area. We are a very small library, and we have one staff person to do all of the programming for all ages, outreach, publicity, and marketing, and that happens to be me. So my programs for specific ages have to be very focused and effective. In 2010, I started a volunteer program where teens help prepare for and present summer library program events for children. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about why I started the volunteer program, how it works, and the lessons I've learned from it, both philosophical and practical. I just want to make sure you understand that Volunteens is a program for teens. Yes, the teens also help. They volunteer at programs to help the library and me present fun events for younger children, but Volunteens is just as beneficial for teen volunteers as it is for our summer library program. Volunteens gives participants opportunities to demonstrate capability and responsibility, to learn new skills, to spend time in a productive way with their peers, and to earn community service hours. First of all, I want to talk a little bit about an elephant in the room. When we're talking about teens, I'll be the first to admit that teens can be irritating, they can be intimidating, unmanageable, and all those negative characteristics we say they are. And there is actually psychological research to back up these perceptions we have. In 1967, David Elkind coined the term adolescent egocentrism, which since then has been supported by research and evidence. Up until today, there were two characteristics he came across that are prevalent among teens. First of all, teens believe that those around them are just as concerned and focused on their appearance as they themselves are. And second, adolescents believe that they as individuals are special, unique, and invulnerable to harm. So any aversion we kind of feel to teens, especially when they are in groups, is understandable when you look at it in the lens of this adolescent egocentrism. Another thing that affects our perceptions of teens are our past experiences with teens and as teens. And then finally, our perceptions of teens are shaped by current events and by media. All this means is that you are not a bad person or a bad librarian if you don't really like teens or if you find them irritating. What's really important when you're programming for teens is to acknowledge any negative perceptions and expectations you have, because if you don't acknowledge them, they're going to undermine your teen-directed services and programming. Be aware of on alert for your biases, and that'll help you create successful, meaningful programs for teens, including volunteer programs. So why did we decide to have a volunteer program? Our library doesn't have a friends group or any other volunteer group, and I needed volunteers to help with my summer library program events. Once again, I'm in a very small library, and so I wanted to offer events for preschool through 5th graders using kind of a cafeteria-style activity craft structure. The crafts and activities needed to be complex enough to engage the attention of older kids, yet not too difficult or frustrating for younger children. We often had parents come with multiple children, and then they needed help with their own kids. And then I couldn't do it all with only 2 hands. I needed help. Okay, fine, but why teens? Well, first of all, in the summer, teens are available during the daytime. They need something to do. And I'm not really sure I remember all of the reasons I came up with at the time, but I'm really glad that I targeted teens with this program. We started in 2010, very early in the year in February, to identify the target group. We decided it was going to be teens. And then we needed to go through the process of coming up with this program. So what were the scope and goals? The goal is to support the summer library program events and to offer a meaningful program for teens. We decided how to structure the volunteer program. Our events are weekly, so we chose one day of the week when the teens would come in and prep for the event, and then the event day would be the next day. They would also come in early on the event day to set up and stay after the event was over to help clean up. We decided what the responsibilities of the volunteers were going to be. You know, number one is just to show up, using appropriate behavior and language when they're with children, to be helpful and practical, to learn where the things go so they could do cleanup effectively, and to focus on the tasks they were given. Then in April we developed the materials we needed, things like applications, waivers. We do have parents sign off on all of the pages, including the schedule where they sign up for the specific events, what the rules were going to be, and then an event schedule. And then we developed promotional and marketing materials. We put flyers at the middle and high schools and in the library. We emailed to teachers, and then we promoted at any outreach we do in the general population and at the middle and high school. Our application can be downloaded, but they have to bring it to the library when filled out. We don't have the technology to have them fill out the application and file it online. So finally, then in May, when we're getting the applications in, we contact all the volunteers via email. And then in June, when our events start, they're ready to be active at events. And then finally in August, after the summer library program is over, I evaluate the program and talk about the numbers and how much help they were and stuff like that. And all that goes into my summer library program report to the Board of Trustees. So a little bit about the not-so-gory details of this program. The program is for 12 to 18-year-olds, but we are kind of flexible, depending on the situation. We want to allow as many teens as possible participate. We rarely do not accept an applicant. We usually accept everybody. We do require 8 hours total in volunteer time. They have to sign up for at least 8 hours. It just really isn't practical for me to go through all the paperwork and stuff. If they don't complete the 8 hours, we're usually a little forgiving on that, but they should be signing up for 8 hours total. That also shows their commitment to the program. And we do allow them to alter their schedule if necessary after they have signed up for events, because of course teens are not always in control of their own schedules during the summer. We choose on a case-by-case basis whether to allow older or younger people to participate. So once I had an alum of the volunteer program who was a college student majoring in education. She was allowed to be a volunteer. She came back and asked specifically because she wanted this experience. She wanted to be able to write it up as experience for her education degree. She was a known quantity. She had a good reason. She articulated that reason. And like I said, I already knew about her interactive style and stuff like that because she had been a volunteer. On the other hand, we had a volunteer who had a 9-year-old friend, and we said no to allowing the 9-year-old friend to be a volunteer. The younger girl actually was more mature and more helpful at the library than the teen, but we stuck with the rules because it was going to open us up to too much of the "if you did it for her, why won't you do it for me" type of thing. Now, thirdly, we have allowed a younger sibling to participate unofficially because her older teen sibling who wanted to be a volunteer was kind of in charge of her. She's also very helpful, very focused and organized. We did not put her name on the schedule, and she did not get to attend the volunteer thank you party because that is really for teens only, but she did get a certificate. So, so then let's talk a little bit about prep and work. It sometimes does seem to take more time to put the program together and supervise the teens than I save on prep and events, but only sometimes. Most weeks, this is a huge, this volunteer program enables me to put on better events and more complex events. But before you decide to start a program like this, make sure you can fit the time to develop it into your own schedule and that it fits your library situation and your staff availability. There are lots of benefits, but you have to plan well to realize them. You need to start early in the year to come up with your goals, the results that you want from the program. So I wanted summer library program event results, and that's why I came up with this. It also has great results for teen programming, but those first goals were about the summer library program. You need to prioritize and schedule your necessary activities and tasks. So your flyers can't go up until your application forms are ready. Your applications can't be finalized until your event schedule is done. Stuff like that. You have to understand what steps can come first. The first year is going to take a lot of time to set up, and in subsequent years you're just revising materials. You get into the kind of the rhythm of it, and it works out pretty well. And also in subsequent years you will have volunteers coming back, and you will know them already, and they will not need as much training. So what do our volunteers actually do? They prep for events. There are weekly prep sessions the day before each event. They learn how to do the activities and the crafts. They organize the supplies. That means a lot of cutting that I do not have to do. They make samples, and they make signs. At the events, each teen is assigned to a specific craft or activity, and I often choose their assignment based on observing them during the prep session. They will always want to work at a station with their friend, and you have to decide whether that is going to be helpful or disruptive. You know, do you need them somewhere else? And then you have to be firm, friendly but firm, about where they're going to work. The teens set up their station. They show the sample to the kids. They demonstrate the steps. They talk about the goals, and that's not a big philosophical goal thing. It's just about what are we trying to make here. They help children with tasks. So like I said, we have preschoolers through 5th graders come in. If a 3-year-old is not going to be cutting, and so they can do things like that for them. And when the event is over, they put supplies away. Now, as far as outcomes go, we've been really pleased with this program, and I'm looking forward to doing it this year. It's just part of our summer library program now. There's no question that we're going to do it every year. There have been a few glitches, but it's been a boon to the library, to the summer library program, and to the teens. First of all, just having a volunteer group helps me plan events. I can decide, I look at the schedule, I find out how many teens are coming that day, and then I can decide on how many activities we can have and how complex they can be based on the number of people we have to man the stations. Not only do I spend less time setting up and cleaning up events, I'm just not nearly as exhausted after an event since teens do most of the interactive work with the attendees. When we have enough teens to staff all of the activities and craft, then I get to float. I can take pictures, I can replenish supplies, I can talk to the parents and kids who are attending, and I'm not so focused on just doing one thing. Parents are super glad to have someone to help their kids with crafts and activities while they're holding the baby, or taking the toddler to the bathroom, things like that. And they're also happy to be able to bring all their kids to the same event and not have to get a sitter for the preschoolers to bring the 6- and 7-year-olds. We serve more teens than we used to. Our annual group of volunteers runs from about 7 to 12. Not all of these teens sign up for the summer library program or attend teen events, and so these are teens that we wouldn't be bringing into the library except for the volunteer program. The volunteers get really good experience in working with children, in taking responsibility, in modeling appropriate behavior, in explaining directions, and the best way to know if you have learned something is to teach it to someone else. Okay, so here's an example. It's not the greatest example, but we had a mom once punish her daughter for something she did at the end of the school year by making her join the volunteers. And I thought to myself, this is going to be bad. But it actually turned out, the girl turned out to be really helpful, really good at working with kids, and she didn't resent me because of what her mom did. And she got to know about the library and the summer library program, and I couldn't recall having ever seen her in the library before that. Not all volunteers are library users. I've heard from my volunteers that a lot of teens buy books or check them out at school and then don't bother coming to the public library during the summer. So they wouldn't even be in the library if they weren't volunteers. Last year at our teen event, which is open to all teens registered for the summer library program and to all of our volunteers, we had 9. That's double the year before. The most we'd ever had at a teen event was 6. And so this really helps me boost my teen programming numbers too. It helps the volunteers feel as if the library is their space. They feel more comfortable with the staff and with the space. So some lessons learned. First of all, you have to be organized. If you're not organized, the teens are going to really take advantage of it. You have to communicate rules and expectations. You have to have your prep activities ready to go. If they're sitting around with nothing to do, they're going to be disruptive. And a really important part of your job is to build structure into the program. Prep sessions can be very casual and noisy. We let the language go. The only time I really get on their case is if they're kind of bad talking about other teens who aren't there and stuff like that. But then on the day of the event, they know that they have to be on task. They have to bring their appropriate language and their behavior when they're interacting with young children. As far as prepare for the unexpected, I know that my volunteers are less reliable towards the end of the summer, and they don't always show up when they are scheduled. Some legitimately so, you know, families plan last-minute trips and stuff like that. Transportation becomes difficult. I send a weekly reminder email to volunteers, and that helps, but I always plan on having fewer volunteers show up than are actually scheduled starting like that 3rd and 4th week in July. As far as being flexible, I let teens who show responsibility take initiative. Last year we made ice cream in Ziploc bags. I had a teen there who ran the entire whole activity, including supervising 2 younger teen helpers. She had done it at school. She was responsible. This was her 4th year as a volunteer, and it was really amazing, made my job so much easier. As far as having an open mind, like I said before, prep sessions are pretty casual and noisy. As long as the next day they bring that appropriate behavior, I don't mind. I don't care. It's, you know, whatever. It's fun. They can have their phones out, whatever they do. Some of the wonderful things that have happened is that some of the older teens are becoming mentors of the younger teens. We had a big crop last year of getting out of 6th grade. And of course, you know, they were social and noisy. They didn't really have those social habits yet about how you behave in public. And so we had older teens who mentored them through role modeling behaviors and stuff like that, and were very patient with them. It was really, really good. Someone asked about whether I write a lot of college recommendations and recommendations for job applications. I write some. Not everybody comes back for them. It depends, and I'm really happy to do that. I really am. In fact, in this picture, Sarah, who's the second from the left, was recommended for a Herbert Cole award, and she asked me to write a recommendation, and I said, totally, of course. And these 2, Allison on the left and Sarah, they're the second from the left in that picture. Last year I received a YALSA Dollar General teen internship program, and we were able to hire these 2. Sarah has been a volunteer, I think, for 3 or 4 years, and so she was a shoo-in for that position, let me tell you. But that was one of the wonderful things that happened, because I had that experience with teens as volunteers. I think that's part of what helped us win the grant. All right, so that is everything I have to say today about teens as volunteers. Please feel free to contact me. I'm happy to share my materials, applications, what I've learned, any details, all that kind of stuff with everybody. And I also just want to make sure you, to give everyone a little encouragement today to join the Wisconsin Library Association, especially the Youth Services section. First of all, I joined as soon as I became a librarian. I think it's really important to belong to professional organizations, not just because of what you get out of them, but because of what you can contribute to them. First of all, it's a community of your peers. If you go home every night and talk to someone about, I did this program and yada, 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 and they just look at you with blank stares, you know, you have this community of peers who's all about programming for kids and teens. If you go to a conference, there are familiar faces you see there from the Youth Services section. If you listen to webinars, you hear familiar voices. It will help you build your confidence in what you do. Belonging to YSS will help inspire you with ideas and things like that and give you practical help. So I just want to say to everyone, join, because I'm really happy I did.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. And I just want to thank all of our panelists, Emily and Terry as well, for presenting these great ideas. I know everyone who listened to the previous session and this recording will get great ideas. And I want to thank all of you for listening in as well. So have a great day and so long.